Gas shortage leaves nearly 90% of DC pumps without fuel. So about 12,466 stations had reportedly run empty as of Sunday evening. And this is absolutely insane. Because before we get into the story, right, which I haven't read this yet, but a lot of the shortage isn't even by the hack of the pipeline, right? A lot of the shortage is because of people overreacting to a potential shortage from the basically hack of the pipeline. Like that's the craziest thing to me, right? Is that you end up seeing so many people just like rush every gas station that's close to them to the point where they start like just emptying out, getting like basically buckets full of gas for like no reason, right? And like a lot of this has really no reason to it except for fear, right? It's basically FOMO, fear of missing out on gas, right? Which I guess would make it FOMOG. So gasoline shortages continue to plague much of the East Coast, leaving a majority of the stations in Washington, D.C. out of fuel. Supplies at thousands of gas stations in dozens of southern states were drained after a cyber attack forced a shutdown of the nation's largest gasoline pipeline earlier this month. The Vital Pipeline, operated by Georgia-based Colonial Pipeline, delivers about 45% of the fuel consumed on the East Coast. And as of Sunday evening, about 12,466 stations had run empty, according to Gas Buddy analyst Patrick DeHaan. In his latest update around 8 p.m. CT, DeHaan said nearly 90% of the gas stations in the nation's capital were running dry. And over the weekend, the number of gas stations suffering from the outages, that jumped, fluctuated between 69% to 88% according to DeHaan's data posted on Twitter. And, oh, Lord, this is crazy. DC, 88% plus 19%. And then, oh, man, what's the higher one as well? Well, what's another higher one? North Carolina, 58%. Ugh, that is so insane. Meanwhile, nearly 60% of stations in North Carolina were out of fuel, and about half of the gas stations in South Carolina had no gas as of late Sunday evening. And in Georgia, about 43% of stations were out of gas. So a cyber attack forced to lock up computer systems of the pipeline on May 7th, and the hackers didn't take control of the pipeline's operations, but Colonial shut it down to prevent the malware from impacting its industrial control systems. So the disruption created long lines at gas stations in the southeast due to distribution problems and panic buying, which is what I mentioned, draining supplies at thousands of gas stations. And multiple sources confirmed that the company had paid the criminals a ransom of nearly $5 million in cryptocurrency for the software decryption key required to unscramble their data network. And then last week, operations had restarted and gasoline deliveries were being made in all of its markets, but the company cautioned that it would take several days to return to normal. And the pipeline runs from Gulf Coast to the New York metropolitan region, but states in the southeast are more reliant on it. Other parts of the country have more sources to tap. For example, a substantial amount of fuel is delivered to states in the northeast by massive tankers, which is pretty crazy when you really think about it, right? And then you have like random, like I think governors trying to like close even more pipelines right now, and it's just getting really weird, right? But the thing that you gotta understand is like this is not a good situation, right? Like if you know someone who's that emotional to where they start panic buying gas, you gotta like talk to them and be like, hey, take a step back, breathe, and relax. Were you short on gas? Like, did you have like no gas in your car? Then why did you go and do that, right? Like, don't do that the next time, right? Like, don't fill up at like a quarter of a tank, right? Half a tank, I can understand, right? 3/4 of a tank, I can understand, but you're gonna like just bum rush a gas station, fill it up full, and then fill up like 4 or 5 different gas containers, right? 5 gallon a piece, 2 gallons a piece. Like, no, you don't do that, right? And you see the same issue with, the start of the pandemic when people basically bought up all the toilet paper. Why are you buying up all the toilet paper? Like, that literally makes no sense, right? So it's just something to really think about. Like, those are the same people who should not be involved in investing. They should not be involved. Well, I should be more specific. They should not be involved in the stock market with individual stocks because they cannot handle the emotional turmoil that it might give you, right? Basically, these people that end up panic buying are probably also people who are not really good at mastering their money, which would be sad, but is most likely the case. Now, if you are someone who is like that and you're seeing this and you are having problems with mastering your money, you can go down below and learn how to master your money. And at any income level, it's very simple and easy to follow through with it because it's very simple to follow along with it. Is that you got to start managing your life and your money in a way where you're not going to be affected by things like this in an emotional way. You're not going to act on something purely by the emotion, right? Because if the majority of people did not act based off of their emotion, there wouldn't be a massive gas shortage, right, in all these states, right? You probably have a couple gas stations having issues, but you wouldn't have a situation where 90% of DC pumps are without fuel, right? So just keep that in mind. If you're someone who is emotional, or if you know someone who is emotional, just sit down, talk to them, and understand, try to understand where are they getting this emotion from, right? What is causing this emotional reaction to a situation that should have no emotions attached to it, right? You had a group that created a criminal act. They did a criminal act against the business. They got paid because that business caved, basically. And yeah, there was an issue with some of the gas, but it was already going through the process of fixing the issue, right? So just keep that in mind. Try to react to things more so on a logical perspective, or at the very least, just take a step back, breathe, and see where you are in your current situation at the time, right? Now, I can understand if you're a little bit emotional, if you take a step back and you're like, oh, wow, I only have a quarter of a tank left. I need to get gas, right? I can understand that. But then that's when you make the plan to find a gas station that's hopefully not marked up so crazy in a legal sense to $7 a gallon and fill up your tank. But you don't get extra gas, you just fill up your tank like you would normally do, but you'd probably have to find a little bit more research or do some research to find a gas station that isn't completely shorted because of what people did and how they reacted, right? So that's like anything with life. Just take a step back before you end up doing something, because that could save you a lot of money. That could save you a lot of heartache. And just keep that in mind. And if you need help with mastering your money, go down below to learn how to master your money so that you are not so emotional in situations like this.